So the topic is how the COVID-19 is going to impact the Odisha economy. Now, if you are following newspaper and then television discussions, everywhere now there is a lot of concern being raised on the health and livelihood. These are the two important issues that are being discussed everywhere. Okay? Because now every day we are witnessing a new record on basically in case of the new infected cases and the death numbers, both at state level as well as national level and international level. And we are also observing that now India is surpassing many other countries, and now it is at third place. Maybe very soon so become second, and we do not know whether again it will become the first country in the world to have the highest number of infected cases. Because now, although the government has not yet accepted that community spread has happened, but we can see now a lot of local people are getting infected, and it is not confined only to the migrant workers. So that is the health scenario. But the maximum concern that is being shown is on the livelihood, because many people are losing their livelihood, they're losing their income, and it is not confined to only the poor people. It is also affecting the middle class and the rich people who are doing different jobs in different sectors. Now, since we are students of economics, we look at the macro picture. We look at the global trend, we look at the national trend, and then we'll come back to the state level. Now, when we talk about growth, we basically refer to the gross domestic product, or basically we can say the national income. Well, we can look at the state income, or we can look at the global GDP. Now, I will give you some idea, because since there are so many students, I should tell you now what is the size of the global economy. Like when you say what is the size of the Indian economy, and you must be hearing at different levels. Like Prime Minister Modi always talks about the $5 trillion economy. A lot of discussion is happening whether India can become a $5 trillion economy or not. But at present, we are not $5 trillion. At present, we are about $3 trillion, and the global economy is about 90 trillion US dollar. Okay, so that is the size of the global economy. And now most of the economic agencies like World Bank, IMF, Asian Development Bank, then European Union, uh, European Bank. So all these new agencies are now forecasting that, and similarly different private agencies are forecasting that the global GDP will fall minimum 5 to 6 percentage, and it would be more. And now some people are raising the concern that this situation is going to be like the Great Depression in 1929 that had happened in US and UK. And we have studied that theory in when we studied the Keynesian theory. And Keynes was the hero who basically revived the American economy. And similarly, the world economy was badly affected. And similar situation is going to happen in 2020-2021, or it may also continue to the next year. So nobody knows what will be the impact of COVID-19 on the global economy. Now coming back to India, Indian economy is also going to be impacted very badly, and now different agencies have given different numbers. If you look at the IMF forecast, International Monetary Fund, then it has revised its estimate, and now it is saying that the Indian GDP will decline by about 4.5 percentage. So forget about the growth, the output is going to shrink, and that will be about 4.5 percentage. Similarly, Asian Development Bank, which has also again revised this estimate, and now it is saying that the India's GDP will fall by 4 percentage. And Goldman Sachs, another private rating agency, it says that India's GDP will fall by about 5 percentage. Similarly, if you look at the CIA estimate, then they are saying that okay, the decline will be about 1 percentage. And Dr. Prabhakar Sahu, Professor Prabhakar Sahu, who is working in Institute of Economic Growth, he has also given the forecast that the GDP of India may fall by 3 to 7 percentage. And then we had also done some estimate, and then our estimates are quite much more pessimistic. And we had forecast that the India's GDP may fall by about 25 percentage, which is very alarming. Many people may not believe this, okay, because other people are saying maximum it goes up to say 7%, and we are saying it is 25%. So that is a very pessimistic picture we are providing. And now, so that is the scenario at the national level and global level. And now coming back to Odisha, Odisha economy is also going to be affected, and because now it's a global system, and we cannot remain insulated. And we have done some estimation, and now we are arguing that uh, Odisha's gross state domestic product may fall by about 13 to 16.6 percentage, or say round off if you make, then it will be about 17 percentage. Now, what is the implication of this? Now, if the GSDP of the state falls by 13 percentage minimum, or say 17 percentage, then that is a very big number. And that means whatever income was generated in the economy last year, we are going to have less income this year. That means, suppose we had produced 100 rupees output last year, then this year we may have only 87 rupees, or maybe 83 rupees. So that means if the state's total income falls, then every individual living in the state also have reduction in the income. So that is the so that will affect the livelihood of the people. Now, coming to the other impacts, like what will be the immediate implication of this fall in the output? If the output falls, as I told, the income will fall, and then the immediate impact will be on the employment. Now, if you look at the employment scenario before COVID-19, Odisha's unemployment rate was highest in the country, and in the month of May, our CMA, Center for Monitoring Indian Economy, came up with the data that the unemployment rate has spiked up to 24%, which is very unusual. Because in the normal situation, the unemployment rate remains something about 5 to 7%, and Odisha's unemployment rate was 7%, and so we are very much worried about this. And when the unemployment rate touches 24%, that is very high, and that is quite believable, because we saw that all the factories were shut down, and then all the economic activities were shut down in the month of April and May. And of course, we started the unlocking process from June, but then you can see that the economic activities are not yet normal. So that means it is, if the output is falling, and then it will have an immediate impact on the economy. That means in the income of the household, and employment, and many people are going to lose jobs. Now, if you come back to Odisha, then you can see that we are now hearing in media that the government of Odisha is also going to terminate the contract of all the contractual employees who are working in the government sector, and that number is about 2 lakh. So that means even in the government sector, people are not safe. Of course, these are the people who are not truly government employees, because they are working through some manpower agency as contractual workers. So now government is announcing that we will not renew their contract, and so now 2 lakh people's job in the state will be affected. Now, if you are thinking about like what will be the extent of employment crisis in the state, then I should give you some numbers. Now, you have seen that so many migrant workers have returned to the state who are working in other states. Now, what is that number? If you look at the website of COVID dashboard of government of Odisha, then that number is about 5,60,000. And of course, many people do not believe this, because they believe that many people have come on their own, who have not reported to the government. They have done their own arrangement, and I am aware of this actually, because one of my friends who is living in Hyderabad, he was telling that before government facilitated the return of the migrant workers, he and his friends had facilitated the return of about 40,000 migrant workers alone from Telangana. So if only one team has facilitated the return of 40,000 migrant workers who were mostly working in the brick lanes, and they have come from only Telangana. Then there are so many workers who have returned on their own from many other states. So the number would be much more than that 6 lakh. And many, even some elected representatives within the political party, ruling political party, are saying that this number would be about 20 lakh. So, in fact, Samaj also had reported that this number would be about 20 lakh rupees, 20 lakh people who have registered to return to the state. And now we are also observing that many people are also returning now. Of course, we are hearing also that some people are going back to the workplace, but that number is very, very less. So that means if you look at the migrant workers, about 20 lakh people are going to lose jobs, or they have already lost job. Similarly, within the state, now who are working in the government, 2 lakh people are going to lose jobs. Similarly, the people who are working in the private sector, they are either they have lost job, they are working in the state, but they have lost job, or the people of Odisha who are working in the private sector outside the state have lost their salary by 50% or even more than that. Even I am aware of some of the private educational institutes in the state who have already cut down their salary by 50% or even minimum 30%. And in the coming days, that salary cut would be much more than that. So that means in total we can say about 20 lakh migrant workers, 2 lakh contractual employees in the government sector. Then we can see that people who are working in the private sector, so that number would be minimum 10 lakh within the state and outside the state working in the private sector who have seen a salary cut, or lost the job, and that number doesn't come into this dashboard of government of Odisha. So that means at least 30 lakh people are going to be impacted, or even more than that. So that means in Odisha we have say about 4.5 crore population, which means we have about 95 lakh households. Now out of 95 lakh households, if more than 30 lakh households are losing jobs or affected by the loss in income, then imagine 1/3 of the people in the state are going to be impacted because of loss in job or loss in income. So that is a very bad scenario, and that is a very alarming situation. So then we will immediately now ask this question. Now, what would be the role of the government? Because government has to do something, and all the time we say that now people are losing jobs. So what should be the role of the government? Now, government is also in a crisis, because if you are asking that government should spend money, then we should know what is the revenue that government has, and can the government spend that we are demanding. Of course, we are hearing different schemes of government of Odisha and government of India, announced by the Prime Minister of India and the Chief Minister of the state. Now so they are trying to announce different schemes which can save the health of the people, and then it can also they can also provide food to all the people, like free rice to everyone. Similarly, we are also hearing that a lot of MGNREG's work is being provided in the rural areas. Their wage rate has been increased, and the number of work days has also been increased. So these are the announcement we are hearing. Similarly, the people in the old days have received their old age pensions 3 months in advance. So all these things we are hearing, but we should know the macroeconomic impact of the state, particularly on the revenue position of the state. How if the GSTP of the state is falling by 13 to 17%, what would be the revenue fall? Now in economics, we discuss some concept called revenue buoyancy. Now, what is this revenue buoyancy? For the interest of the students, I should explain. Now you are studying the elasticity concept, price elasticity, that when the price changes by 1%, how the demand is going to change by what percentage. Similarly, when we talk about the revenue buoyancy, basically we say that when the the GSTP, gross state domestic product of the state, increases by 1%, what will be the increase in the revenue collection of the state? And that is about 2%. That means if the GDP increases by 1%, revenue will increase by 2%. Okay, and that's so approximately will be, if you look at the revenue numbers, then our GSTP say on an average has been growing about 6 to 7% or even 8%. And if you look at the revenue collection growth, then it increases more than 15-16%. So it is more than double. Okay, so that's the revenue variance is 2%. But this year the revenue is not going to increase because the GSTP is going to fall. Now, if you take that buoyancy rate, that means if GDP declines by 13%, then the revenue collection will fall by 16%. In a simple estimate. Okay, and similarly, if you take that pessimistic growth scenario, that is revenue, if the revenue falls by about 17%, then if the GSTP growth falls by about 17%, then the revenue collection would fall by something like 34%. Of course, this would be very again alarming numbers. Many people may not believe this. Now, for that, we can look at the data that is available in the public domain. Now, Government of Odisha provides the revenue collection data in the CAG website. Anyone can check this, as well as in the Finance Department website. So if anyone is interested, can go to the Finance Department, Government of Odisha website and check the revenue collection in the month of April and May. That data are already available in the website. Similarly, you can also see the revenue transfer from the Union to Odisha. Now, these two numbers, we can interpret, and from that we can get a forecast for the entire year. Now, for 2020-21, Government of Odisha had announced that it will spend about 1,50,000 crore. Now, the matter of concern is that whether the Government of Odisha will be able to spend 1,50,000 crore now after COVID-19, because the budget was presented before COVID-19 came to Odisha or came to India. Now that there is COVID-19, in fact, in the last cabinet meeting, they have already, the Chief Secretary had announced in the media, we have seen in all electronic media, that government is already planning to revise the budget estimate, and it will be a downward revised estimate. Most of the years, government usually provides one upward revised budget estimate during the monsoon session of the Legislative Assembly. But this time, the upward revision will not be simply possible. Rather, there will be downward revision of the budget. Now, what will be the extent of the downward revision? We do not know. But the Finance Secretary has already announced that there will be a lot of austerity measures taken up by the state government. Now, what are austerity measures? Of course, initially they announced that there will be no fresh recruitments, and similarly, if a post has not been filled up for last 5 years, then all those positions will be abolished. And then, of course, Government for Odisha and then a lot of expenditure reduction in the travel of the bureaucrats. Similarly, accommodation in the luxurious hotels, buying new cars, all these things have been stopped. But of course, Government of Odisha now has come up with a clarification that whatever advertisements have already been done, those will continue, and they are not going to stop the recruitment process. But everyone is uncertain about that, okay? Because if the state government doesn't have revenue, then from where will they bring money so that the new recruitment will happen? Now, again, coming back to the revenue shortfall, I told you that Government of Odisha had presented a budget worth 1,50,000 crore. Now, whether they will be able to finance this, that we have to see. Now, if you look at the revenue sources, now if government is planning to spend, if government had planned to spend 1,50,000 rupees, 1,50,000 crores rupees, then from where it had planned to mobilize this revenue. So, if you look at the budget estimate, then government had planned to mobilize about 56,000 crore from its own sources. Now, when we talk about own sources, the state government imposes a lot of taxes, and then both direct taxes and indirect taxes, and then it also has some lot of non-tax revenues. Non-tax revenue means basically most of the revenue are coming from the mining sector. Similarly, all fines, fees, registration fees, all these things will come under the non-tax revenue. Now, so both tax revenue and non-tax revenue of the state, they had estimated it would be about 56,000 crore. Similarly, the state had expected to receive something like 68,300 crores from the center. And from center, we get three types of transfer. One is share in the taxes, which is maximum amount. Share in the taxes means whatever tax is collected by the union government, a share of that will be shared among among all the states. And Odisha had expected to receive about 68,300 crores. And okay, so one is share in taxes, and then grants in aid, and then transfer under the CSA central sponsored schemes or central schemes, and transfer to the panchayats. So altogether, the state had expected to receive 68,300 crores. So in total, the revenue receipt should have been 1,24,300 crores. That was the budget estimate of the finance minister. And the rest amount, 24,400 crore, would have been borrowed. So state was expecting that from its own source and from the center, it will get 1,24,300 crores, and the rest 24,450 crore will come from borrowing. So the total budget was 1,50,000 crore. But now, if you look at the revenue collection in the month of April and May, this is not going to be feasible anymore. Now, based on the data in April, now we are estimating that because in the month of April, the revenue fall in the state was about 60%. Own revenue collection of the state had fallen by 60%. And in the month of May, it has fallen by 20%. So there is some improvement in the month of May. But again, we saw in June data is not available in the public domain. And in July, we are seeing there is again a shutdown. So there is a lockdown in the capital district, that is Khordha, and then in Patak and then Raurkela, where most of the economic activities take place. And those regions are coming under lockdown. So that would again affect the economic activities. So based on the revenue collection trend in the month of April and May, I am estimating that instead of mobilizing 56,000 crore in the entire year 2020-21, Government of Odisha will be able to mobilize only 44,800 crore, or we can say 45,000 crore. So 56,000 crore will not be possible. It can collect only 45,000 crore. So there will be a revenue fall of about 11,000 crore from its own sources. Now the state had expected to receive 68,300 crore from the center. Now that will also not be possible, and we are estimating that the state will be able to get only something like 65,700 crores. So 60,000 crore will not be possible. 65,000 crore and it will be much less than that. Now, why I am saying this? The estimate that we had done was based on the April and May trend. And in April and May, we saw that the revenue transfer from the center to state overall had increased. But the revenue transfer under sharing taxes had fallen by 7%, which is the maximum source of revenue for the state. And that had fallen by 7%. So in that case, and we assume that that trend will continue, but we saw that in the month of June, now the revenue transfer from center to state has fallen further. It is something like 10%. So that means the estimate that we are doing that the state, instead of getting 68,000 crore, it would get about 65,000 crore. It would be less than 65,000 crore. So okay, whatever it is, now we are estimating that the transfer from center to state would fall by something like 3,000 crore. So state's own revenue collection will fall by 11,000 crore. Then transfer from center to state will fall by about 3,000 crore. So in total, the revenue collection, the revenue mobilization of the state would fall by something like 14,000 crore. Now, if state doesn't have revenue, then how will it finance the budget? Now, for that, the finance minister, government of India, Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman announced that now the states can borrow more amount. Now, what is the borrowing limit? Now, in the past years, as per the FRBM rule, that is Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act, the state can borrow 3% of the GSDP every year. That is basically the fiscal deficit every year. The state government can do that much. But now that government of India has realized that most of the state governments are going through a crisis time, the state government will not be mobilized revenue, so it has to borrow more amount. And that is what finance minister said that instead of 3%, now you can borrow 5% of your GSDP. Now that 5% of GSDP is not going to be sufficient. Why? Because before COVID-19, the state had estimated to borrow something like 24,500 crore. Now that revenue mobilization will fall, now the state will have to borrow more than 38,000 crore. So now Corona has changed the scenario completely, and so now the borrowing amount goes up to 38,000 crore. And now in this year, the GSDP is also going to fall. So what is happening? Now the numerator is increasing and the denominator is falling. So the ratio will be now much more higher than 5%. And our estimate shows that the borrowing requirement would be about 8.2% of the GSDP. So even if the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced that no, you borrow about 5%, that is not going to be sufficient. So the borrowing requirement will be about 8.2%. Now from where it will borrow? So that is also that we should know. Okay, now before again we go to this discussion that from where it will borrow. Now the central question is arising whether the state should reduce its expenditure or it should increase the expenditure. That means it had announced to spend 1,50,000 crore. Now from the newspapers and media sources, we are hearing that the finance minister and the secretary, they are planning to reduce the budget size. To what extent, we do not know. But there is a lot of certainty that they are going to reduce the budget size. But that is going to be quite disaster for the state. Why? Because we have studied in macroeconomics that in such a time, the aggregate demand in the economy will be very, very low. Now, aggregate demand will be very low because income of the people, I told you that out of 95 lakh households in the state, about 30 lakh households are going to lose their jobs or their income is going to reduce. That is one scenario. The second, now all the households in the state are going to reduce the consumption. Now, if you look at your own family consumption, now during lockdown, our consumption has been only confined to the basic requirements. We are buying food or grocery items, but we have definitely reduced the purchase of, say, all the consumer durables. Similarly, even the purchase of the cloth, purchase of the jewelry, or expensive items, because we are very much uncertain about the future. So when there is a lot of uncertainty about the future, no individual, no household will spend money which are not essential. So that means the overall demand in the economy is going to fall. Now, when there is no demand in the market, the private sector will never come forward to invest. That is why many people are critical of the announcements done by the government of India. That people basically, if you look at the stimulus package of government of India, we have basically government said that you can take a lot of loans under different schemes and take start up your economic activities, but that is not going to happen because now every investor realizes that the demand in the economy is very, very low. In such a situation, if they start the investment, then this is not going to there will be no demand for their products, and so they will not have any profit. So in such a situation, the Keynesian and solution only can help. That is that government should invest a lot of money, and that is called as pump priming. Government has to spend money without thinking whether it is going to get tax or not. And see, remember, in such a time, there is no scope for increasing the tax revenue. because the income of the people is already low, and then there is a lot of uncertainty. And see, there is a lot of question also emerging. In fact, on the Facebook sometimes we are getting a lot of comments that what is the salary of the professors, whether they are going to face a salary cut or not. In fact, I should tell you that I was discussing with my teachers who are working in the aided colleges. They have not got the salary of in last 2 months, particularly the aided colleges, who were announced to get. Those are basically block grant colleges, and now they have not received salary in last 2 months. So that is the scenario of the aided colleges. Thankfully, the primary school teachers are getting their salary. Now, if you look at the government employees, now their dearness allowance has been freezed for 1 year. So salary is not going to increase. Similarly, for the central government employees, again, dearness allowance has been freezed. Then the transport allowance has also been stopped. So everyone, both the state government employees, central government employees, everyone is suffering a loss in the income. Okay? So now the overall demand is going to be low, and if the state government reduces the expenditure, then that will further aggravate the demand situation in the economy in the state. So that means whatever industries are operating in the state, whatever business and houses are there, they will not be able to sell anything. In fact, in last 2 days, I was watching different TV channels. They are showing basically the business of the cloth stores, business of the gold, the jewelry shops. So everywhere there is a drastic fall in the business. In fact, in the consumer durables, everywhere there is a drastic fall. If you look at the car sales, everywhere there is a fall in the sales. Now, if government also reduces the expenditure further, then that demand is going to shrink further. So in that case, the GDP contraction would be much more than 17%. So that would be quite disaster, and that would again invite a situation like 1929 Great Depression, where people did not get food to eat, and many people died, many people committed suicide. So that should not happen. So now to stop such collapse of the economy, the state government should spend 1,50,000 at least. It can spend much more than 1,50,000 rupees, because the demand is very, very high. The requirement is very high. Now, from where the state government should get the money, that is also a matter of concern. Now, Odisha government is in a much better position compared to many other states. Now, how the state government of Odisha is in a much better position? Because the state government, the state of Odisha has a lot of extra budgetary resources. That means this is beyond 1,50,000 rupees. These are like saving accounts of the fixed deposit of the government of Odisha. Not truly, but in that way you can interpret. Now, Odisha has a lot of money under district mineral fund. Now, that is something like 7,000 crore. Okay? And similarly, we also have some money under CAMPA, that is Compensatory Afforestation Management Authority. So there is some money. That means if you are taking up some project where you have to clear the forest, the mining company or any other company will have to deposit some money with this CAMPA authority. So that money has accumulated. Similarly, we also have some money under Orissa Mineral Bearing Area Development Act authority. So that means again the mining companies will have to deposit money to this authority. Government of Odisha imposes cess, and that money has been deposited under Orissa Mineral Bearing Area Development Fund. Now we have money under Construction Workers Welfare Fund. So that money that means all the construction activities that are happening in cities, they have to pay a cess. So whenever we are buying a house in cities, we are paying a lot of cess. So that money is deposited for the Workers Welfare Fund. So that money is also there. Now, other than that, Government of Odisha has Guarantee Redemption Fund, and then we have Debt Redemption Fund. What are these funds in simple language? Guarantee Redemption Fund means when Government of Odisha invites a private company to invest in some sector where the private sector understands there is a business risk, for example, the power sector. Now, if you are inviting a private sector to invest in power sector, they know that they are going to incur loss. They are very much uncertain about the profitability. So why will the private sector come to do this investment? Now, in such a situation, Government of Odisha gives a guarantee that you come and invest. If you incur loss, then we will give you some financial support. Now, for that, a separate fund is created. So that is not part of the budget. So a lot of money has been accumulated in that fund. Similarly, we also have a debt redemption fund. That means if you are borrowing, okay, then if you will face a crisis, then from where you will get the money. So every year we put some money into that account, and then that fund was created basically during the time of the chief secretary, finance secretary, regime of Mr. Jugal Mahapatra. So that fund also has accumulated some money. So if you put together all these funds in different heads, the government of Odisha has something like 15 to 20,000 crores of rupees. Of course, that is not going to be sufficient, because I told you that our borrowing requirement is about 38,000 crore, and we have some revenue 20,000 about 20,000 crores. And remember, this money cannot come to the consolidated fund of India. This money has to be spent for a specific purpose. But of course, Reserve Bank of India has now allowed the states to utilize the money under the Guarantee Redemption Fund and Debt Redemption Fund. So that money can be utilized. But the other money from CAMPA or Mineral Bearing Area Development Fund, or say CAMPA. In fact, again 2 days ago, we also read in media that government is basically borrowing the money from these sources. Why? Because as per the RBI regulation, as RBI rule, if you have deposit with the Reserve Bank, if the state government has some deposit with the Reserve Bank, then you cannot go for overdraft from the Reserve Bank. That means you cannot borrow from Reserve Bank. Okay. Now, all the state governments, including Odisha, have a lot of money with the Reserve Bank. Those are basically deposited under these heads. So RBI is saying that first of all, you have to exhaust all these resources, then only you can use this overdraft mechanism. So government of Odisha is doing that, and if situation is required, then government of Odisha can borrow from Reserve Bank under overdraft, and the overdraft limit also has been increased. So there are different mechanism or the different sources from which government of Odisha can borrow this. And my argument is that government should not think to reduce the expenditure under any circumstances. What can it do? It can only reprioritize the expenditures. I'm not saying that whatever was announced in the budget, that should be done. Now that there is a crisis, we have to reprioritize their expenditure. But the amount should not fall, the total amount should increase. Now, what are the reprioritization that should happen? That we'll discuss further. But then again, I'll tell you, since I was discussing that from what all sources the government of Odisha can mobilize revenue. Now, there is a discussion going on that the center had announced to give compensation under GST. That means when the states are implementing goods and service tax, if they suffer a loss in the revenue of GST, then the central government will compensate the loss amount. But now the union government is saying that there is an exit clause, basically that if situation is not normal, which is basically called force majeure. That means if something happens which you can is called as God's act like this, then government of India is not bound to make the compensation. Now some states are demanding that if union government is also suffering a loss in the revenue collection, and for which it will not be able to compensate the revenue losses of the state under the goods and service tax, then it can print the money and transfer the benefit to the state as GST compensation. So for that, all the states will have to come together and demand the union government to make such compensation. So these are different sources from which the government of India can mobilize revenue, government of Odisha can mobilize revenue, and it can keep the budget size 1,50,000 crore. Now coming to the reprioritize, because now we cannot spend on the heads that was defined in the budget, because if you remember the budget 2020-21, the finance minister had announced and the chief minister had also announced that they're going to spend a lot of money in the development of Puri, Lord Jagannath Temple, that is under Avada scheme. Similarly, a lot of schemes were announced for Ekamra Khetra, that means for development of Lingaraj temple and the periphery. Similarly, there was some announcement for the development of Cuttack city. So now all these things cannot be done because now tourists are not going to come because now there is COVID. Now temples are also shut down, so tourists will not come. So we can delay these projects. So that means this year, whatever money was announced under Abada scheme, Ekamra Khetra, or the development of Cuttack city, and similarly Samaleswari temple. Now this money should not be spent. Similarly, for all the new projects, those can be stopped. Now the money has to be diverted towards 3 or 4 sectors. First is health. Now COVID care, definitely Odisha has been doing pretty well. If you compare with other states, Odisha situation is much better. So definitely you have to appreciate the efforts of the state government. As of now, situation is still under control, although the numbers are increasing, but still it is not as bad as other states. So definitely praise the efforts of the state government, and but that is not sufficient, because now we are hearing that in the non-COVID health issues, many people are facing crisis. That means doctors are not available for treating the non-COVID diseases, and many people are dying without getting adequate health care that is not COVID. So such time has exposed our weakness in the health sector, because we do not have sufficient manpower in health sector. So this is high time to increase the capacity in health sector in terms of more medical colleges in the state. Of course, that cannot happen overnight, but we have to start the process. So we have to strengthen the health sector by deploying more manpower and more nurses, more community health centers, and providing better infrastructure, testing facilities at every community health center, so that people don't have to come to those COVID hospitals. They can be tested locally. And now the argument is also going on that we have to increase the testing level significantly. In fact, every individual in the state, I would argue, that should be tested for COVID. If you want to control the COVID quickly, like Malaysia and many other countries have done, they tested every individual in their country. So we have to do the same thing. We have to test every individual for COVID-19. So that would be quite expensive. But we are also hearing today in media, we are hearing that now we may get some technology from Israel, where we can test this blood sample within half an hour. Similar, IIT Delhi has also come up with different new testing tools, which are quite less expensive. So we can use such technologies for testing the blood and for testing the COVID sample of every individual in this 4.5 crore people in the state. So that would help to control COVID very quickly. And then the second issue would be food security. Now that the government of Odisha is providing rice and dal, of course, government of India is providing that, and then government of Odisha also has some contribution. So both union and state governments have to be, again, appreciate, they need to be praised for this, and so that has to continue. And then Prime Minister has also announced that this is going to continue up to Diwali and Chhath. So that is up to November. This will continue, which is a very good thing. And probably, if situation requires, we have to give such free rice to all, because nobody in this should die without food, or no one should die in hunger. Of course, there was one case we read in media that in Noyagarh one old lady died, and the complaint was that she died without getting food. So, but yeah, so the second priority is food. Then third priority should be employment. Now for employment, I'll tell you very quickly, because I had already written an article in a newspaper that now people are not interested to work under MGNRGs. And now government is giving emphasis on providing employment under MGNRGs. Both center and states are telling that no, you can join under MGNRGs, and the wage has been increased, and that is 220 rupees. No one is going to work under MGNRGs with 220 rupees wage. Of course, yesterday again government of Odisha has announced that they are going to increase the wage rate by some 5 rupees for the unskilled and semi-skilled and unskilled and skilled labor, but that is also not going to be sufficient. So people have to be provided with some skilled employment opportunities. And for that, I'm arguing that now state government should start to set up one enterprise in every panchayat. So every panchayat should have one enterprise, and that can be done with the collaboration of the state as well as the local people. Now, say the model is that the state government can provide 25 lakh to every panchayat, and another 25 lakh will be mobilized from the shareholders. That means whoever is interested to invest in the enterprise can invest in that, because in every village now there are a lot of rich people and they can invest 1 lakh rupees easily. So if 25 such people come from one panchayat, then they become the shareholder. So government invests 25 lakh, shareholder invests 25 lakh. So total becomes 50 lakh rupees. With that, one enterprise can start in the panchayat. So every panchayat, we have about some 8,000 panchayats, and then every panchayat should have a rural enterprise. And why am I arguing this? So if we are always comparing with China, China is exporting everything to the world by producing all the small things in the village enterprises. If you are getting a broom, if you are getting a torchlight, if you are getting a nail cutter, if you are getting a toy, we are getting some, even the diyas for our Diwali, even lights that we are lighting during Diwali. These are all coming from the village enterprise of China. So if China can do this, why not Odisha? And now that we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, so this slogan has to be supported with some initiatives. And now that Odisha has a lot of skilled manpower, we can do this. Now we have a lot of students who are trained in ITI, trained under in engineering. Then we have MBA graduates. They are coming from villages. So now if they are getting such employment opportunities in the panchayat, then we can really transform the rural economy. And we should have a cluster approach. That means one block, say we have 314 blocks. Now every block should have, say, one product. So one block will focus on one product, and so that they can produce and they can supply it to other things. So the detailed model can be discussed, or if you can read that newspaper article in Dharitri, it is also available on my Facebook page. So now we have to emphasize upon the rural enterprise, and we don't have to delay. We can immediately start the construction activities. So that is third priority. So first, health priority. Second will be food security. Third should be providing employment. Okay. And then the other priority now will be on education. Now education is badly affected. Now if you look at the online education, now that nobody knows when the schools are going to open or colleges are going to open, or even the university is going to open. Even Niger has not yet opened. You will see, you'll be also observing that the JEE examination is not happening. So nobody knows when people will join IITs. So there is a lot of uncertainty, and different IITs have also already announced to go online this year. So Government of Odisha, of course, has announced that online education should start, and I am aware that even in the Saranpur College, online education is happening. And Pitavas was also telling that they are starting online classes. People are joining also. This is a very good thing, but this is only applicable at college level. I am because I have interacted with a lot of teachers at college level. So they are saying that in degree colleges and in university level, about 80 to 90% of the students are attending online classes. But at school level, the number is very, very low. And I have also interacted with primary schools where the online classes is happening on WhatsApp. Basically, many teachers are basically considered as a resource person in a block. The block education officer has created that resource persons group, and they will create the notes for every subject, every class, and that will be circulated to the school teacher, and then that goes to the school student, basically the parents of the school student. So that way, they are thinking that online education will happen at school level. Of course, in television also now I am hearing that some classes are going on. But how many people have a mobile phone? How many people have a television set in the villages? Now, if you look at the NSS statistics, less than 20% in people have a mobile phone or a computer. A computer or a laptop. Of course, mobile density is higher than that. But that doesn't mean that everyone has a smartphone. So, and the teachers with whom I have interacted, they are saying that only 15 to 20% school students have a WhatsApp connection. And whatever teaching assignment is given in WhatsApp, many students are not responding because many people do not know how to access WhatsApp and how to reply that in a WhatsApp. So that is also the concern. Only this online education is getting confined to the people who are better off in urban areas and the better off in the rural areas. So education is going to be very badly affected. Now for this, now we have to create the capacity for providing online education. Now, what are the solution? Okay, on graduation level and PG level, we are observing that no, okay, many people have access, so we don't have to probably do much. But still, even the 10% people who are not getting access, they can be brought to the hostel because they will be lacking internet connection in the villages. So they can be brought to the hostels and they can be provided special data recharge packs. Government should subsidize these things because data recharging is also a difficult thing. Many people cannot afford those recharge packs. So that financial support has to be given to the students. Similarly, if the situation requires, you have to provide smartphones to the students. Like no, in between we had provided Akash tabs. Government of Odisha have planned to provide Akash tabs which are less expensive and that can be provided to every school children. That is the way only we can do. And in fact, Kerala has started doing this. So why government of Odisha cannot do this? And that is priority. You cannot keep the people uneducated, or we have to find out an alternative mechanism for the school education. So these are some of my suggestions. I think so. If again I summarize this, so our Odisha economy is going to be badly affected. That means the GSTP of the state is going to contract by about 13 to 17%. Our revenue collection is going to fall by 14,000 crore. Our budget was 1,50,000 crore. So revenue fall will be about 14,000 crore. Then the borrowing requirement is about 38,000 crore. Because why this mismatch between the revenue deficit and borrowing requirement? Because other than revenue expenditure, we also have some capital expenditure. So that is why the borrowing requirement is 38,000 crore. Now, Government of India has announced 5% borrowing extra. That is not possible. Government of Odisha needs now 8.2% of borrowing, and but our argument is that government should not reduce the expenditure; it should borrow and spend. And Government of Odisha has a lot of other sources of revenue which can be used. And I told DMF, Kampa, then Odisha Mineral Bearing Area Development Fund, Construction Workers Welfare Fund, Guarantee Redemption Fund, and Debt Redemption Fund. Then government should not increase the government should reduce the capital expenditure and it should reprioritize the expenditure towards first health, then food security, third employment, and then comes to and that is skill employment, basically creating an enterprise in every panchayat, and then building up the capacity for online education so that we can be ready for providing online education from next year, because nobody knows whether corona is going to stay here or going to end. So those are my suggestions. With this, I'll conclude. Now, I would again like to thank again Pitavas is a student of mine, so for which I am very much proud. And many of my students have become now lecturers in different colleges. So this always gives a pleasure when students invite the teacher to interact with their own students. So I feel this is a very good opportunity for me, and I'm thankful to Pitavas and the principal of the college, Mr. Rajkishore Sahu. With this, I conclude. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us with your kind words of wisdom. Sir, we will go ahead and take some time for questions now. Just a reminder, please be sure to type your questions in the message box. Okay. Expecting some questions. Please type your questions in the message box.
So either they did not understand anything, or they had all clarity.
Sir, it is a
Okay, maybe it will
very
take
good
some time to ask.
very good, very fine discussion. Okay, okay, sir. Sir, we have received one question from Harpya Parjoshi. Sir, is there any option to development of online study?
Yeah, that's what I was telling in the end, that now government has to create the capacity. In fact, many teachers were not aware also how to go online and give education to the students. But now people know, I am hearing that many people have become accustomed to this and they are already providing online education. But there is issue in case of internet connection and data pack. So now government should provide a student data recharge pack, and that should be at the least cost, or it should be free. So for all the students, if you show one ID card, that would, I would suggest the government to have this plan. Every student has to show the iCard to the respective company, telecom company, and get it recharged for free, and that money can be paid by the government of the Odisha. And then also all the telecom companies should also now support the government. Why? Because now the use of online platforms have increased significantly. So the people who are better off, they can spend the money. There is no issue. But the people who are not in good economic condition, they have to be supported. And for that, the private companies, all these telecom companies, should have actually special recharge plans. Say now, say instead of having say 400 rupees for 3 months, now they can have 100 rupees for 3 months. So 30 rupees, 1 rupee per day. So that way, that will promote the students to go for online education, and the data packs should be unlimited. Okay, and now it is only 1 GB per day. So that should be, again more than 1 GB, because if all teachers take class online, then 1 GB will not be sufficient. And then our students' habit of sending videos, photos on WhatsApp also will continue. That we can't anyway stop. So that means now more data is required, and like drinking water should be free for all, data should be also free for all, and that way only we can improve the education system.
Another question
Yeah, now there's a question.
from Brahmakesh Ratha, sir.
There is a question from
Sir,
Nayan.
what economic steps can be taken to revamp? Yeah, sir.
Okay. Okay. Another question. Yeah, I'll first address the question of Naina. That is, are these classes going to make all-round development of the students? No, definitely it is not going to make all-round development, because there is no substitute for the online, for the physical classes. In fact, many people have already said, in fact, our CNR Rao, the Bharat Ratna winner, he also said that no, without a teacher, you cannot inspire and you cannot motivate the student. So, and particularly for the science students who have a lot of practicals, if there are no practicals and if they study only theoretically, this is not going to help at all. And say in the institutes like Niger, where our basically science students spend a lot of time. In fact, I would say 50% of our student time goes for practical. Now they are going to be badly affected. So that is a matter of concern. But we have to also find alternative ways. In fact, for practicals, what we can do, we have to also develop a lot of videos. If suppose Corona doesn't go, then what will you do? Maybe we have to provide online education. And now that students are sitting idle at home, we have to keep them engaged, because idle mind is devil's workshop. So they will do many other things and they will get into depression. When we are hearing that, in fact, a lot of Bollywood actors in some Odia celebrities are committing suicide, that is basically because of depression. So, our students who were, coming to schools and colleges, it's not that only they came for education. So, they were mingling with friends, which was basically releasing their stress, and that is also not happening. They were playing in the college school ground. So, all these things have stopped. So, a lot of depression now is developing among the students. So, that is why now we have to keep them engaged. But I'm definitely agreeing with you that no, it cannot go for online all-round development. But again, I will also tell you that we have to keep the students engaged online, like again giving them say counseling, free counseling, other than simply teaching the subject. We have to have a special session for counseling. If a student has any personal problem, we should reach out them, like the Vice Chancellor of Koraput Central University was doing. He visited some of the students' household. Similarly, if some student, of course, should feel free to interact with the teachers, because if they have problem at home, if they are not feeling comfortable with the teacher, then they cannot communicate all these things. So students and teacher have to really come together to get rid of the stress and keep them engaged. Now there is another question: what economic steps can be taken to revamp education in the state? Now, for education, anyway, a lot of activities have to be taken up. I have dealt with all these issues in different newspaper articles. Now, to tell very quickly, so my argument has always been that education is a public good. It's a merit good, and there should be no private sector participation. So all the private schools and colleges should be taken over by the government. Okay. Now what is happening? Now when the rich kids are studying in the private schools and colleges, and basically the bureaucrats or the politicians or even the intellectuals of this state are not bothered about the government education system. So if the rich child and the poor child study together, then we will think together how to address the problem. So now, unfortunately, in our state, nobody is demanding to appoint more teachers in the schools or at college or university. Parents are demanding only whether they are getting eggs or a midday meal in schools. I am not saying that these are not good things. So why government of Odisha is providing midday meals? Because basically to ensure nutritional security. And we can also, if you look at the residential schools, say day boarding schools, so you can take midday meal as a day boarding provision. So that is not a bad idea together. My concern is that if people are demanding eggs or midday meal or for uniform, they should also demand school teachers. If they see that in some schools there are no teachers, they are not demanding. And there is another reason why that is not happening, because they know that now the teachers are not teaching at colleges or schools, and because they know that our child will go for private tuition. So if private tuition is the answer, then why will they demand for more teachers? So that way teachers are also partly responsible. No, I'm not saying that we are not responsible. If the teachers are not teaching properly, then they will not find it interesting to come to school and then or the college. And the parents will also think that anyway I have to spend money for private tuition. So why should I demand? So why should I demand for appointing more college teachers? In fact, that could be also one of the reasons why people are not supporting teachers. Okay, so there has to be a complete change in the approach towards education.
Sir, another question asked by Rupesh Maharana. That do you think a universal minimum income guarantee scheme is going to help to recover this present pandemic situation?
Yes, at present, people are demanding for that universal minimum income. Yes, I think that could be one solution. Many economists have argued for this because implementing new schemes will take a lot of time, and we know that it has a lot of leakages. So I think to definitely get rid of this crisis during COVID-19, universal basic minimum income would be a good solution to it. But I would also argue that this income transfer in the long run will not be helpful. Okay, during crisis, COVID crisis, yes, minimum income guarantee would be a solution, but the solution is elsewhere. That see, at present we are providing only targeted benefits. So, for example, rice only the poor people will get. Similarly, free healthcare in the hospitals only the poor people will get. But middle class people are not getting benefits, and they have to rely upon their own income. That approach has to end. In fact, we have to universalize most of the economic services. In fact, if you remember the Prabhat Patnaik's lecture Again, I would argue for the same things. Basically, Professor Prabhat Patnaik argues for 6 economic rights. The first one is free and quality healthcare. Second, free and quality education, government provided by the government. Then third one, right to food security. Then, okay, of course, he says the food security should be first. Then second, education, and third, health. Then fourth, right to employment. Okay, and then fifth one is we have to provide old age insurance. Basically, old age support, financial support. So all these services should be universalized. Okay, it's not that only the poor people will have access, or the people who are rich they can only buy insurance policies. So the middle class people do not have anything. So that approach has to change. Okay, and if we provide all these services and universalize all these services and provide it through the government, that will be the best solution. And so again, Prabhat Patnaik's argument I would buy and here. So that way, that universal basic universal minimum income would be only temporary solution during the COVID crisis, but post-COVID crisis, when situations are normal, we have to ensure these 6 economic rights.
Thank you, sir. Another question we have received from Nitya Sundar Manik, sir. Sir, which sector should be given more importance in government of Odisha, by government of Odisha, in order to revive the economy in the way of high unemployment and fiscal constraint?
Yeah, I told you that when it comes to prioritizing, first it has to be health, second has to be food security, third has to be employment generation. And for employment generation, I told you that we have to go away from this just election announcements. We have to go for doing something concrete. If you are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat, we have to also think for Atmanirbhar Odisha, and for that we have to have enterprise in every panchayat. See, government cannot provide job to every individual. In fact, government is reducing the employment in every sector. That is also going to happen in the future. And in private sector also, the employment will fall because of use of technology. So the only solution is self-employment, and that can by creating enterprises in the state, and every panchayat should have one rural enterprise. That is the only solution I can see, and that will I strongly recommend for. Now there is a question from Nitya Sundar. Which sector should be given importance? I think I was addressing that question, right? And then Abhipsa Mahanti, what should Odisha?
Sir, another
tell.
Sir, a question we have received from one of my students.
Okay.
Sir, Abhipsa Mahanti. Sir, what should Odisha government do in the current situation to boost economy and for sustainable economic development of people, especially the middle and lower middle class people, in your view?
Yes, I told you that for this, if you're talking about sustainable economic development, you have to provide gainful employment, and again that Prabhat Patnaik's argument, right to employment, should be ensured, and it's not right to employment to work in MGNRGs. If someone has studied in ITI or in even college, they are not going to work under MGNRGs. And why should also people work? When there is a machine to dig soil, that machine should dig. Because if you ask some human being to do something for which a machine is available, I don't think that we should do that. So now our approach towards employment guarantee should change. And for that, I would argue that we should provide gainful employment by creating rural enterprises. And for sustainable economic development and for middle and lower class people, I told you that we have to universalize these 6 economic rights: right to food, right to education, right to health, right to employment, and right to old age pension. So these are things government of Odisha and government of India should ensure to all.
Thank you, sir. Another question we have received from Manoj Kumar Nayak. Is rise in the price in some consumer goods makes more benefit to our state economy?
See, in fact, on this price thing, Now, I have a very different opinion. When I go to the market, see, I buy vegetables from Jatni market. Okay, and when I go to market, I see the seller is selling bhendi 20 टंका. Okay, and तापर जन्ही 20 टंका. किंतु आलू 30 टंका. So, no, I don't know like this. No, I believe that this lady finger price should be 40 rupees minimum. Okay, and or 50
Yes,
rupees.
yes, yes.
And why I am saying this, if you are buying a lady finger at the rate of 20 rupees, then imagine the farmer is getting only 5 rupees. Do you think that a farmer can survive with 5 rupees? So my argument would be that for the vegetable prices, no, it has to be minimum price. There for every vegetable, there should be minimum price, and no vegetable should be sold below 40 rupees. Okay, my argument would be that. And why I am arguing this? Farmers are not getting anything. See, remember, when you are buying clothes, you don't mind spending a lot of money. When you are buying Lays, you are spending happily 20 rupees, 30 rupees. And when the Lays packet came to the market, it had 100 grams of Lays in the packet. Now that 100-gram Lays packet content has gone down to only say 30 gram or 40 gram. Rest is only air. You are paying that 20 rupees. So that means if you are paying higher price for the non-necessary goods, why you are not ready to pay higher price to the vegetables? And that is why nobody is willing to go for agriculture. So we have to change our mindset. And I would argue that just like minimum support price for rice or paddy, there has to be a minimum support price for all the vegetables. That means selling any vegetable below 40 rupees should be illegal. Okay, if any buyer is buying any vegetable from farmer say below 30 rupees, that has to be legal, offense. So that kind of mindset has to happen. Otherwise you have to grow your own vegetables. Now we don't want to grow vegetables in our kitchen garden. We want to buy everything from the market, and we want everything should be for free. Then what about the farmers? You want farmer to commit suicide? Okay, so now and coming to potato, now potato prices have gone up to 35 rupees in the market. Now potato was produced by farmers, he sold it at 5 rupees. That went to West Bengal, which was stored in a cold storage. Of course, I understand it involves transportation cost, it involves storage cost. So for that, price has gone up, and the immediate implication is that now the government of Odisha has and government of India, they have removed all these commodities from Essential Commodity Act. That is why now there is no price regulation, and higher price is always not a bad thing. Okay, and in fact, I would believe that all the prices should go up, but of course, the prices should not go to the salesman. It should reach the farmer. That is my answer. Yeah. And then
Another question,
yeah.
what about the agriculture sector in Odisha and India? Whether it is affected mainly due to climate change and lockdowns or not?
Okay. In fact, in my talk, I did not talk much about agriculture sector, but I should tell you that this year agriculture is going to be the savior. Why? Because 50% people in our state still depend upon agriculture, and thankfully this year the monsoon forecast is the forecast by the Met Department is that the monsoon will be good. Of course, 2 days ago there was again media report that there has been deficit in the rain in different parts of Odisha, but now you can see the sky. Now I think God Indra got the message from OTV, and then now the rain has started in most of the parts of Odisha. So I think monsoon will become normal, and so that way we can hope for a good crop or good harvest this year, and that can save the livelihood of 50% of the people. Although it has very less contribution, agriculture contributes only 20% to our state GSTP. So that way it is contributing less, but it can save the livelihood of 50% of the people. So let us pray, Indra to be kind enough this year on the farmers, so that we get good harvest.
Sir, it looks like we have covered all questions. Is there anything, sir, you wanted to cover up before wrap up, sir?
No, I think that's all. I think we have covered most of the issues. Now, for the students,
Okay, thank you.
students, I'll just tell them that no, you focus on your studies and be in touch with your teachers, get all study materials, buy books and study. So go beyond textbooks, read newspapers regularly and read good books. If you have any doubt, ask your teachers. Nowadays, most of the study materials are available on YouTube, and I'm sure your teacher is already giving all those things to you. And so don't waste your time. And if you are getting into any kind of trouble, like getting into stress, don't always don't hesitate to contact your teacher. Your teacher is very helpful, I know. So be in touch with your teacher and prepare for higher studies. Don't waste your time. Yeah, that's all I would like to say. Pritibas, you have to unmute.
Sir, we have received another question.
Yeah.
Sir,
Hiran Mai Misra.
sir, what?
What
Okay,
about
sir, another student.
lockdown of what is it? Actually, it is not really stagflation. See, stagflation is that you have your growth rate falls and then you have high inflation. See, Indian economy is not having very high inflation at present. In fact, before pandemic also the inflation rate was quite low. In fact, now the concern is that price may collapse. Okay, of course, vegetable prices are a little higher in some parts of the state because of supply bottlenecks. Some vegetables are not reaching some parts. So because of the lockdown, the supply chain is getting disrupted. So that is the only concern. But stagflation is definitely not a concern. The concern is rather a recession. That means growth may decline, output may decline, and prices may also go down because of a fall in the demand in every sector.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. And special thanks to Amarendra sir for time out from his busy schedule. And thanks again for joining us today. Thank you. Thank you so much. Sir.
Thank you so much, Pritibas.